Hi, I'm John Atack,
I'm Sam Atack.
and this is an Opening Minds presentation. And it's called Somebody Else's Problem. So would you like to start us off with an explanation of the philosophical background to the SEP or someone else's problem?
So, SEP, for me, my religion, is a way of designated people who are non-members as someone else's problem. As in, I don't have to worry about them, somebody else can deal with it. But more than that, it's a reflection of my internal state of mind, of achieving peak inactiveness. By designating things someone else's problem, you don't have to worry about them. Like global warming, someone else's problem.
It's not me.
Bullying, someone else's problem. I could go on, but it's someone else's problem.
And could you tell us where this philosophical concept comes from?
The Douglas Adams.
The singular, just the one Adam.
Yeah, the singular.
Douglas Adams, the author of the 5 books of the Hitchhiker's Guide trilogy, who understood that there is such a thing as somebody else's problem. Now, the point is that psychologically this is absolutely true, that we decide whether we're responsible or not. And it said that if you discover that you're having a heart attack on a crowded street, you should point to somebody and say, "You, help me." Because otherwise people are, oh, someone else's problem.
They'll see the others around them doing nothing, and so will do nothing themselves.
And there's a cultural basis to this, as is to most things, that people can be made to be horrible through laws and through culture. The Chinese for 1,000 years would, at the age of about 7, break a little girl's feet, crush them, so that they could be 3-inch lilies. And they'd never be able to run or walk properly again. But this was normal. I mean, what do you mean questioning the practice of the ages? So culture can have a tremendous effect. But someone else's problem. Now, we got some quotations for once, just to prove that we can read. And maybe start with this one at the bottom. Maybe you'd read that one out for us.
The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
Yeah. Now, Edmund Burke, 18th century British politician, put forward this view. Of course, before it was proper to say it should have been the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing, because they're not going to be sexist.
Gender microaggressions.
Yeah. In fact, we might actually say for good animals, because we don't want to differentiate against the nice animals.
Animals are people too. Wait.
But, third time, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Now, this was echoed by Martin Luther King Jr. He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. I'm not sure that's true, but they certainly are involved in it. And what he says afterwards, he who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it. Hannah Arendt talked about the banality of evil, that evil was not, some creature in the Lord of the Rings, Saruman, who is plotting the destiny, or Game of Thrones, or whatever the thing is, who's plotting evil, is not a satanic person, which is not to say that there isn't a tiny percentage, a couple of percent of people who really are evil. It is the mediocrity, as I think MLK Jr. said somewhere else, of the masses, that people don't do something. So it's someone else's problem. King also talked about the appalling silence and indifference of the good people. Are you starting to feel that we're getting at you yet? Because we're talking,
and you're not saying anything.
Being appallingly silent in response. And he also said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, which I absolutely profoundly believe, that if we allow the Chinese people to lock up anywhere up to 3 million people in re-education camps, or prisons as they're called in the West, and take their children's language and beliefs away from them, then we're allowing a massive injustice, and we're in for trouble as a consequence of that. So you can be pro-social, you can be anti-social. As soon as we cross into someone else's problem, I'm not going to do anything about that, then we are being non-social. We are not being sociable. And that leads us into what can we do to help? And we're going to take a break. We're going to have a cup of tea, and it will be rooibos tea, by the way.
Yeah. What is this?
Which has no caffeine in it, and it's organic, and it comes from South Africa. And
is it in a plastic bag, though?
It's not. It's in a paper bag, so it's not leaching microplastics. And when we've had a cup of tea, and we'll come back and, what was it we're going to talk about?
I don't remember.
Someone else's problem, really, isn't it? If you think about it. We're going to talk about what can be done to help, to change the world, to do something wonderful. But you're going to have to wait for that. Unless, of course, you watch these videos out of order, in which case this will be very confusing.
Yeah.
But the proper one to watch after this one will be called How Can I Help? And I'm John Atack.
I'm Sam Atack.
And this has been an Opening Minds preparation for us having a cup of tea. Thank you for sharing our time with you.